But the Congress, everything is up for grabs as long as it's yours.
Welcome, where William Wagener gives you information that ought to give you second thoughts about the unconstitutional acts of our local, state, and federal government. I am Megan Wells. Now producer and host, the good guy in the white hat, William Wagener.
Thank you. William Wagener for this episode of the show. We've got with us a candidate for office, not a Democrat, not a Republican, not a Libertarian, but an independent. Please welcome Jim Fitzgerald.
I appreciate you welcoming me.
Jim, why are you running as an independent and for what office?
I'm running as an independent for the state senator office. I am really upset with politicians the way they are right now, always been running for one office after another. And what I looked around and I saw Abel, he's a professional politician. He's running for one office after another after another. Every 2 years he's running for another office. So I decided I'll run for state senator against him because being an independent, I don't owe any favors to any party. And I feel I can do a good job representing the district and the people of the district.
So what would you do differently, Jim, that Abel Maldonado, Abel's voted for tax cuts. He's voted against diversity, and he's voted against things that would help the gay and lesbian crowd. What would you do different?
Well, one of the things is I would listen to the people, and I'd come back to the district, and I'd actually talk to the officials of the cities and the towns and the county and see what they need. There really is a big problem with water here. There's a water crisis coming on, and I don't think anybody's doing anything about it. And what about the prices of gas? Is there anything that can be done in Sacramento that can help the citizens? I think that's where the thing has to be done. It has to be done in Sacramento to help the citizens.
If you're elected, Jim, would you refuse to take your free gasoline that the state senators and assemblymen give themselves at the taxpayers' expense?
Well, I'll tell you what I will do is I'll drive a hybrid so that the gasoline prices will be very, very low.
Have you heard about the water-powered car that Stan Myers developed back in 1997? Doesn't need a drop of gasoline at all?
I haven't heard of that. I know that they're coming out with some new types of cars that are going to run on hydrogen.
Yeah, the hydrogen-powered car is basically a water-powered car because it takes its hydrogen out of the water molecule and then reburns it. And Stan Myers, we'll go to this clip. People ought to see this. Go to this clip. I'll be back in just a minute. You need to see this car developed more than a decade ago by Stan Myers, needs no gasoline at all, and then ask yourself why no Democrat, no Republican is pushing this solution. We'll be back in a second.
A local inventor has discovered a way, hear this, to use water to run your car.
It's a major breakthrough that will no doubt make motorists happy. And as Ralph Robinson explains, the Pentagon is also showing lots of interest in this project.
Water has always been considered a precious commodity, but Stan Myers' invention may make it even more valuable. He has developed what's called a water fuel cell. It has taken the place of his old gas tank. The water fuel cell breaks down water molecules into oxygen and hydrogen. The hydrogen is used to run his dune buggy.
I don't care if you use rainwater, well water, city water, ocean water. If you don't have any fresh water, then go ahead and use snow. If you don't have any snow available to you, then use salt water because there's no adverse effect to the fuel cell.
Myers started working on this project 4 years ago. He's not a scientist. He isn't even a chemist. In fact, he never graduated from college. Myers was determined, he says, to design something to protect this country from oil embargoes.
And we have calculated that if we take the dune buggy from Los Angeles to New York, we would roughly use 22 gallons of water.
The Pentagon flew a lieutenant colonel in last week to look at Myers' invention. There's talk of possibly using it in the Star Wars defense program and to run army tanks. Myers is currently perfecting a water fuel cell for cars. It will cost about $1,500. He says it won't need any maintenance, and you won't have to replace it. It'll be at least 2 years before the fuel system goes into mass production. The day it happens will be one the fuel industry hates, but it'll put a smile on the face of those who've had to say at one time or another, fill her up. I'm Ralph Robinson.
As you can see, many patents have already been received, and many more are forthcoming. To date, over 42 patents have been applied for.
Jim, if someone came to you and said, look, this is a car that needs no gasoline, runs purely on hydrogen from water, Is that something you would want to make people aware of?
Yes, it was something I'd want to push. I'd want to maybe make it public and let people be able to get that type of car. Anything we can do to get ourselves off foreign oil is something we should do. We should take the steps, whether it's wind power, solar power, running on a car powered by water. Those are the things we should do to get off foreign oil.
I'm going to ask you a tough question. Do you support the government kidnapping of children from good parents that simply have some minor issue going on in their life?
No, and I am a little bit, I have some information on that, and I think it's terrible the way that they're taking these children out of their families and putting them with paid foster care and then not letting them go back and talk to their parents. One thing I will let you know, I was adopted when I was young, and my mother put me into an orphanage, and fortunately I was adopted by a good family. But I'm really surprised at the way that they're operating here, taking kids out of their home, saying they need special needs when they don't. I think it's all a political thing to get more money for the child care and the child welfare.
CPS, Child
CPS?
Protective Service, and you're right, Jim. The way it works, and most people don't know this, there's no way you could know this because they keep it absolutely secret. You're not supposed to know this. The children are not being beaten up by every father and mother in America. You know, it ain't true. Most parents are average parents. They lose their temper, they shout, whatever. You could lose your children for shouting at them. All it takes is for the kid to call up 911 and say, hey, Dad shouted at me, Mom shouted at me. And CPS will be knocking at your door with a policeman right behind them saying, we're taking your child until a court will decide. So they just take the child, Jim. That's how they do it. And there's a case of Kathleen Derringer, who had a tizzy fit with her daughter. Child abduction. They should be in jail. These CPS workers should be in jail doing hard time.
Yeah, they need mental evaluations also. I call them socio workers, by the way.
Sociopaths.
Yeah, they are.
How did you spend your Mother's Day?
Oh, with 5 cop cars, yeah.
Why? What happened? Your daughter did what?
My daughter went to the park. She wanted to see me.
On Mother's Day, she wanted to see you. So
Yeah.
then what happened?
Yeah, and I went to the park to see her, and whoop, there's the cops. That was the
5
end of that.
cop
She's
cars.
stuffing down Taco Bell. It took her away.
She's going on 17, and she wants to see you on Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And San Luis Obispo County sends 5 cars.
Right.
Who's the idiot CPS worker in charge of that craziness?
Louise Tobin.
Louise
Tracy
Tobin?
Buckingham. Leland.
And the end of it, the daughter called 911, but when it was all done, they gave the daughter back to the mom until they could find a foster parent couple to be paid to take the kid. So they gave him back to Kathleen Derringer, and then a couple of weeks or months later, they come and they steal the daughter, 16 and a half years old, out of Atascadero High School, and they ship her off to Iowa to be with her dad.